Well, hello there, my friends. Oh, this stupid wire drives me nuts. We're gonna do a deck unboxing. Why? Because I found it at the store. And this is what we do sometimes when we're bored on a Saturday, right? So it's the Spheres of Heaven Tarot. And I just saw it and said, I haven't heard of this. Let's take a look. And I did Google an image or two just to see if it was worth taking a look at. But I like to do these sort of surprise discovery unboxings sometimes. So we'll see what we get. It's just a thing to keep you, the viewers, happy. We are supported by viewers like you. I did not realize until I got in the car that this is a Hay House deck, which is funny to me because some of the best mass market decks of the last year, I would say in terms of representation, are coming from Hay House. Who knew? The Fifth Spirit mass market, the unfolded, I can't reach the Fifth Spirit from where I am, but this I showed in a video from just things that I thought were great last year. This is one of the most beautiful card backs ever. But I really love this one. I don't use it much, but mostly because I've been using one other so exclusively. Even the Witch's Wisdom deck, I really like too. So anyway, interesting. Just throwing that out there as an interesting tidbit. So I really don't know anything about this. It says Sephiroth on top, so I'm assuming there's some kind of Kabbalistic association. But what interested me was when I was reading the back, it said drawing from Marseille and Rider-Waite-Smith, as well as Esoteric Law. It explores the deep roots of Tarot's archetype, symbolism, and evolution, featuring diverse representation and 3 unique lovers cards for readers to choose from. So, I thought, what the hell? And, I never wanted to do deck reviews on this channel, but in doing them, I realized that I could be saving you money. And so it's a public service situation. I try. It is the same cardstock as all of the decks that I just mentioned, which I have said many times feels nice, but is too thick. But here we go. So this is the first time I'm seeing this too. So I didn't even really look at the guidebook. I'm sure I'll take a look at it later. But there are 4 creators, which is interesting. I don't know, collaborative thinking. So here we go. Let's look at the deck. So again, did I show you the back? I don't think I showed you the back. Here's the back. Pretty nice, very simple. I think that it's hard to compete with that unfolding path back. I just love that back. All right, so here's the Fool and the Magician. I'm liking this color palette. It's very blue. High Priestess. That's a dope Empress. That's the cover of the box, actually. Love that. A friend of mine just posted recently how the Empress archetype. I don't love archetype as a thing. I'm not a Jungian scholar, so I can't speak to it with any kind of assertive sense of knowing. But I think the term gets kind of mushed around a lot. But what I like to think of as a metaphor, as the majors, right? They're a metaphor for an experience. But this is a badass archetype of an Empress, so. And really like this Emperor, too. Actually, this is quite a nice deck so far. I mean, 5 cards in. The Hierophant. Oh, so we get multiple lovers cards. So here's the first one. Here's the second, and then the third. I don't know which one to choose, honestly. Probably this one. I like the background. But it's hard to say. I don't know. This is giving a little more Marseille, although it's also giving kind of poly vibes. So it's interesting. I don't know. For the moment, I'm going to leave that one. Just because. Although this guy with the beard is very hot. I like that they're all sort of like there's a fluidity to the gender, but that's very pretty. So I'm going to put these two aside for the moment. It's a very fiery chariot. The chariot is one of my 2 cards. Strength. This is really lovely, actually. That's a beautiful hermit. Wow, wow, wow. I don't know how to describe this color palette. It's not pastel, though there are pastels in it. I don't think you could sort of call it that, but it's a muted. It's not even muted. It sounds sort of like something else. Really like that Hanged Man. What was this Justice? That's beautiful. That's gorgeous. Dig the Devil. The Tower. These majors are quite nice. Wow, this is really pretty, isn't it? Love the Moon. Love the Sun. So there are some extra cards in addition to, well, it's an 80 card deck, right? 8, 9, 10. So maybe it's the extra lovers. I don't know. We get the Gate instead of Judgment. So this, let's take a peeky poo at the Bookie-wah. The Bookie-wah? Fuck is wrong with me? The Gate. This card is often represented as Judgment, but this is a Christian distortion. The Sages of Dioscoria know better. It is a card of the far future looking back at the eons that have gone before. For Christian tarot practitioners, this was understood as the Judgment Day, when the works of the past and the present are fully understood in their ultimate context. For the Dioscorian seeker, the journey is both more personal and infinitely more wider-ranging. Our mortal bodies have carried us across the earth, and we have overcome trials of loss and darkness, and we are now almost at the end of the journey. With one more step, we might see the world again with new eyes, without the clouds of preconceptions, and may even regain the innocence and wonder of our childhood. Now is the time to unite our individual selves with the universe, to overcome duality, and to acknowledge that all is one. It is up to us to take this last step, to give up and gain everything, to finally step through the gate. So that's quite nice. Oh, I wasn't even showing you the card the whole time. Anyway, that's the gate. All for de-Christianizing things. That's beautiful. Oh, interesting. Okay. Okay. This referenced Marseille. I'm very curious now. I'm assuming this is Wands. I'm kind of delighted by this. And it's not like the same thing on every card, although it's quite neutral. Like I'm having a moment. This is really interesting. I'm going to just pick the 6 of Wands here and see what it says. After the struggles of conflicting creative energies and combative passions, the 6 of Wands is a moment of triumph. The tangle of creative stems has been ordered, and an illuminated blossom standing for a work of passion is now cradled near the bottom of the card. Out of all this struggle, something has been created and stands proud. Nonetheless, this brings its own risks, that we might rest on our laurels, preferring to dwell on this accomplishment rather than pursue. This is good. Let's go back to the 5. With the 5 of Wands, the harmony achieved in the 4 of Wands breaks. Our creative energies, once stable, are now conflicting and can no longer sustain each other. The flame of inspiration has gone out, symbolized by the card's unlit blossom. Our creativity now flows chaotically in all directions, symbolized by the card's stems crisscrossing in many directions. The struggle is painful and frustrating, but necessary to break the gridlock of the previous card. Wow, guys, folks, friends, I'm living right now. This is good. An immature seeker might be thrown by this obstacle, while a wiser, more mature mind could use this chaotic energy to push forward toward a breakthrough or resolution. Very cool. All right. So clearly I'm going to have to give this little white bookie poo a reedy poo. This is very, very cool. I can't wait to shuffle this and see what it looks like in a reading. All right, there's the page of Wands, the Knight, the Queen, and the King. It's interesting. So I don't mind when the cards show up as courts, as Page, Knight, King, Queen. I am used to that. I like that. The main reason being that I've found a way of working with that in modern life that works for me. But this seems to be like a very progressive iteration of a tarot deck, and so it's interesting that they went with the courts and not, and not other names. I don't have a feeling about that one way or the other. I just think it's interesting. Very cool. Ace. That's the 2, 3, 4. I'm just going to randomly read the 4 of Cups, because I can. And you can't stop me. Fuck you. In the In the 4 of Cups, love has transformed from the earlier, more ephemeral stages. It is now stronger, more defined, more self-supporting. Love is now fully expressed and manifested. It is ready to be integrated as part of everyday life. The water pours from cup to cup in a seemingly endless fountain. The dangers and turmoil of the early stages of love have been overcome. The ship, so to speak, is now sailing in safe waters. This is a moment of apparent stability, but if we take it for granted, it will go stale, stagnant, and ultimately perish. I love their use of the numbers because this is very close to how I read. Finding this just very exciting. Why have I not heard of this before? I don't know. There's a little tarot history here, which is interesting. The Isle of Discordia. The year is 1562. Hidden by ocean fog and encircled by reefs off the Arabian coast. I'm reading this because we've heard Discordia a few times. Lies the ancient free haven of Discordia. Since ancient times, this mysterious land has been a harbor for mystics, misfits, rebels, and outcasts. Legend has it that the founder of Dioscoria, was the Egyptian sage Hermes Trismegistus after he fled Ptolemaic Empire with only the clothes on his back, a mountain of rescued scrolls, and a handful of priestesses dedicated to the goddess Hecate. This is really fascinating. Okay, all right. We're going to keep looking at the deck, but very, very interested. Very interested in these happenings. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So we get to the page, the knight, the queen, and the king. This deck has a very foggy color scheme. That's kind of the word that I didn't know I needed before. And I'm getting that again from the little book. Here we are in Swords. Let's just see what they say about the 3 of Swords, because why not? Cups, 3 of Swords. This is the moment of vivid, decisive embarkment. We are no longer witnessing the organic growth of the seedling between the swords. Instead, we are slashing ourselves free, an act of violence, but a necessary one. Without this step, we would only be the passive subject of an external force and its unpredictable growth. The 2 curved swords are single-edged, that is, effective and outward-facing, signifying the effectiveness of this act. The sudden destructive appearance of the red sword frees us, setting us on a path of our choosing. But this sword is double-edged, signifying that this destructive energy can also cut both ways and carries risks to the wielder. The energy is rash, unilateral, and violent, but it must be done to walk the path of swords. This is very cool. I'm loving that it's a pip deck. I am loving this concept that like the choices of the arrangements of the swords is deliberate and chosen and not, you know, just arbitrary. That makes me happy because sometimes pip decks can feel arbitrary. And there's nothing wrong with an aesthetic, you know, pip deck, but like just one that's thoughtful is fascinating to me. I'm very excited by this. The creators' names I did not say is Elliot Baum, Georg Holmmeyer, Viv Tanner, and James Patton. The aces are really rich. I love the richness of those aces. So coins. I'm very, very excited about this, which is such a nice thing to experience once in a while because I'm so used to being disappointed by something that seems promising. In this case, it was something that I just sort of did instinctively, you know, and just said, screw it. And quite cool. So, pleasantly surprised in that regard. All right, let's shuffle it and do a little layout. Let's get these out of the way, actually. So, like I said, this is very thick cardstock, so it's, in that regard, not my favorite thing that they're doing. I'm sure it's durable. I'm sure it's going to stand up. And I'm used to it because I do have, you know, I love the Fifth Spirit, and I've got the original indie version. But the thing that I like about the mass market is the titles on the minors. It just helps me see what I'm looking at more quickly, which is the thing that for me as a reader is just really helpful. To get like a cursory understanding of like how many wands I'm looking at, how many twos I'm looking at. So that addition to that version, so that's the one that I use the most. Even though the cardstock of the original, and the original has the Mr. Rogers card too, which I wish they could have kept. I'm kind of tickled by this. There is some, you know, the color palette is a little sort of muted for my taste, but that's not, you know, that's not a deal breaker, and I can see finding this very usable deck, and just really interesting. I'm very excited to read the guidebook. So the other thing is that this cardstock, because it's very difficult to bridge, in my experience, it's gonna sort of, you can do it, but it's gonna get a bow, because I can only sort of riffle and then the bridge, which I don't care about. You know what I mean? Like, I like my decks to sort of, like the Skin Horse in the Velveteen Rabbit. You know, I like them to feel loved. Although I read a really interesting novel recently where the main character hated that book because of the idea being that you have to sort of be destroyed by things you love, which I thought was cool. So this is a very wandsy spread with a core of pentacles. So there's a spread. This is really, so you can see, for me, a little muted, right? But the idea behind it is so cool. And I'm very, you know, very intrigued. And this is, to me, very readable. You know what I mean? I've got the 2 of Wands, the 4 of Wands, the 3 of Wands, the 3 of Coins, the 2 of Coins, the 10 of Swords, the Moon, the 5 of Cups, and the Star. You know, and that's important, is that I can see what I'm looking at. And why I like working with pip decks, and I don't only work with pip decks. In fact, my most used deck right now is not a pip deck. But what I don't immediately get is like an onslaught of visual information, right? So there's something very nice about kind of being able to access the reading without a lot of visual information coming at me. You know, I've got the Two of Pentacles as the heart of the reading. It's the first card I put down. So this gives me a sense of the fact that two is going to be an important quality, the qualities of two and the qualities of earth. Now, without a question, in this case, I would start to think about life broadly, right? Two, what do you want to bring into your life? Two's draw, attract, or what do you want to push out of your life? Two's push. It's because as soon as something splits, it's either going to come together or push apart. There's a magnetic thing there, so there's an attraction and a repulsion. The rest of the cards are going to tell me more. I'm moving to a fire and another two. So the two-ness doubles. Fire's hot. We're attracted to it. So I'm imagining this is something that we're going to draw into our life. And right out of the gate, it's sort of that thing of how do I make my passion pay is the first thing I start to consider, right? Because passion, pay, and passion of the twos. There's my new movie, Passion of the Twos. And I know that the money thing is gonna play another part because I've got another money card or a coins card. But then I go back to fire, and so I need to sort of do something new in my career. I'm really attracted to the idea, but I'm maybe a little stunted energetically. And so as I come into this row, I think of the three as kind of shaking up the stuntedness, kind of like the book said about the five earlier. Like you got to do something a little bit differently, and it actually might mean putting your money, you know, where your mouth is, or putting your money aside, and really kind of thinking hard, the Ten of Swords, about, you know, how, you know, what is it that you're really trying to achieve here? You know, if you're going to keep doing the same thing you've always been doing, you're not going to get this sort of shake up in your life. So you've got to absolutely think hard about your perceptions. You know, what are you perceiving as what making your creativity pay means? Maybe you have some illusions about that, and you may need to disavow yourself of those sensations, those feelings, because of the Five of Cups, right? Your illusions about it are actually maybe the thing that are going to get in the way of you getting where you want to go, or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, again, this isn't really a reading. But the idea being here that, like, not having a flood of visual information can be quite nice as a reader, because sometimes it's just sensory overload. You know what I mean? Sometimes you just lay out a deck and it's like, it's, you know, like the Bones Fire, right? Which is one I did recently that I quite liked. The new edition of that is very, very information rich, very information dense, right, in terms of images. So now we're getting a little bit more of a people-y majory reading. You know, and that's another thing that a pip deck will do is, you know, in this spread, I'm seeing a lot of people, right? So a lot of court cards and just characters in the majors actually know pips, know minors. So, you know, the reading is going to be about the Queen of Cups in this case, but she's surrounded by people. And so that gives me information that I didn't have in the last reading. The last reading wasn't about people. This one probably is. So, you know, the Queen of Cups, who's the Queen of Cups? She's, you know, the badass of the Suit of Cups, the intuitor of the tarot, you know what I mean? The psychic, the leader who leads by intuition, surrounded by strength. You know, so a very strong, intuitive leader, maybe getting some pressure from a king, a usurper, an overhead, you know, boss who wants a more practical approach. You know what I mean? And they believe that their strength is in the practicality. The queen knows that her strength is not in that, in the intellect, it's in the heart. But this king is convinced that the world works this way. And so that's going to create some problems. And it may actually mean a few things. The queen can either sort of turn her back on her nature, her chariot nature, to sort of go and become the Queen of Swords, sort of turn into this king. And I think actually what she ends up doing is becoming the Queen of Wands. So the I think there's a choice to separate, because the gate or the judgment card is sort of walking through to this King of Cups and this Queen of Fire, right? King of Wands. So again, just like really quick examples, but like the way that a pip deck can function for you as a reader can be interesting both in what you see and what you don't see. So anyway, that's a just quick look at this really cool unboxing of the Spheres of Heaven Tarot. I think it's really quite cool. Again, created by Elliot Baum, Georg Hobmeier, Viv Tanner, and James Patton. And mass market Hay House deck, who knew? But they're sort of the ones creating, representational decks at the moment. So there it goes. And a pip deck, a mass market pip deck. Come on. So that's that. I hope you enjoyed this. Take care. Be good. And we'll talk soon.